Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for inviting me. To be at the Skirball Center is sort of extraordinary, and I have to tell you that Rami and Bassam both send their apologies that they couldn't be here. We were at the 92nd Street Y in New York just about a week ago, and Bassam, who's from Jericho, got a standing ovation along with Rami, and he said, "Look at this, a Palestinian getting a standing ovation in the 92nd Street Y." And then an extraordinary little thing happened afterwards. We went to the restaurant, I was telling David earlier, and Rami was taking off his jacket, and Bassam and Rami are so close, they're so close, it's unbelievable. Bassam helped Rami take off his jacket and pulled the long sleeve out and just said to him quietly, "Haven't the Jews suffered enough?" And Rami, the Israeli, put his head on Bassam's shoulder, and that was it. And it sort of encapsulated and it's their little catchphrase that they use often. They're extraordinary men, and they were very sorry that they had to go back. But it was Rami's mother passed, and they're like peas in a pod, and they had to return. This book is about them, and it is set in 1001 cantos, if you will, or different little sections. I'm going to read like 4 or 5 of them to you tonight, and just to try to give you a little flavour of the book. And again, it's such a pleasure also to be here with David, whose books I admire endlessly, and The Lost Art of Reading is one of my all-time favorites about engagement with literature, and so it's an honor for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
80. Jorge Luis Borges, when walking with guides through Jerusalem in the early 1970s, said he had never seen a city of such clean, searing light. He tapped his wooden cane on the cobbles and the side of the buildings to figure out how old the stones might be. The stones, he said, were pink as flesh. He liked walking in the Palestinian neighborhoods around the souks where, as a blind storyteller, he was treated with particular reverence. There had always been a tradition of the blind among the Arabs. The Imam in the marketplace, Abdullah ibn Maktoum al-Ma'ari, those who were Bashir, sighted in the heart and mind, their ways of seeing, their ways of telling. Crowds of young men followed Borges, hands clasped behind their backs, waiting for a chance to talk to the famous Argentinian writer, the Rawi. He wore a grey suit jacket, shirt and tie, even in the warm weather, and he had been given a red fez as a welcome present. When he stopped, the crowd stopped with him. He enjoyed the sound of the alleyways, the flitter of laundry, the swoop of pigeons, the remnants of ghosts. In particular, he liked the trinket shops in the old city, where he could pick small charms from the trays and attempt histories from the feel of them alone. Borges sat drinking coffee in the small shops, amid the smoke and the bubbling water pipes, listening to ancient stories of larks and elephants, of streets that turned endlessly, of pillars that contained every sound in the universe, of flying steeds, of mythical marketplaces where the only things for sale were handwritten poems that scrolled out infinitely. 81. Being with you and not being with you is the only way I have to measure time. Borges. 82. Sivan Zarka, 14 years old, was blown into the air alongside Smadar. Her parents were French. She had lived once in Algeria. They had recently moved to Jerusalem, where Sivan was studying with Smadar at the Gymnasia High School in Rehavia. Yael Botfin was also 14 years old. She had just begun 9th grade at the Israel Arts and Science Academy. She had made Aliyah from Los Angeles with her parents 8 years before. Rami Koshevili was 20 years old. He worked as a clerk in the Yehuda Bazaar, selling sports clothes. He had emigrated from Georgia in the Soviet Union. And Eli Markowitz, an office clerk, a book lover, a pacifist, was 42 years old. His family had come originally from the Black Sea coast of Romania. 83, to make Aliyah, to ascend. 84, Markowitz was having lunch in an outdoor cafe with his 11-year-old son. The boy was thrown backwards through the air, but his fall was softened by a potted palm situated in front of the window. 85, so often, thought Rami, the ordinary can save us. 86, when Rami came back from the Yom Kippur War, long-haired, blue-eyed, exhausted, he began work as a graphic designer, drawing posters for the right wing, the left wing, the center too. He was a maverick, he didn't care. If they wanted fear, he would give them fear. If they wanted glamour, he would give them glamour. Controversy, nationalism, pessimism, anything at all. Schmaltz too, no problem. He could easily deliver a bouquet of bullshit. A raised fist for the new Israel, an expansive border, the Nile to the Euphrates, a wide-eyed child, a sinister stare, a wounded dove, a long, elegant leg. Anything at all. Make it smart, make it crude, make it rude. He didn't care. He had no politics, no party allegiance, no safe alignment. To have a house, a family, to be undisturbed, an Israeli life, that's what he wanted. A good job, a mortgage, a safe street, leafy, no knock on the door, no midnight phone calls. The spectacularly banal. The worst of it all would be a long line at the falafel joint, a short change at the cheese store, a mistake by the mailman. Rami did what he did best, drawing, sloganeering, provoking with paintbrush and pencil. He started his own firm, advertising and graphic design. He delighted in ruffling feathers. Most everyone liked him, and if they didn't, he laughed it off. Always the clown, the joker, the man at the edge. He met Nurit, and she was a beauty, fiery, red-haired liberal. She didn't care what others thought. Smart as a whip from a good family, a general's daughter, a pioneer, an original. She went generations back. She took the oxygen from the air. He was rougher-edged, raw, more working class, but she liked his charm, his wit, his ability to turn on a word. He was reckless, he made her laugh. He wasn't going to let her go. She had the brains and he had the instinct. He courted her, wrote her letters, drew pictures for her. She was a peacenik. He sent her red roses. She returned them for white. He was smitten. He had served as a tank mechanic in the army. He fixed her father's car. The general approved. They were married in Nurit's house. A rabbi held a service. Together they broke the glass, mazel tov, around the house. They had their 18 minutes of Yehud. It was tradition, why not? And the years, they tumbled on. The kids grew, the boys were full of pep. Smadar was a pistol, a firecracker. She loved to run around the house. She danced on the table. She cartwheeled in the garden. She skinned her knees. She knocked a tooth out, girl stuff. And time sauntered on. High school degrees, theater, and then came military service. Nurit didn't like it, but Alik, their oldest son, went anyway. Shined his shoes and twirled his beret on his finger. It was the done thing. To refuse to serve was to isolate. To isolate was to lose. To lose was un-Israeli. It was duty, pure and simple. Rami recognized it. He had done it, and his sons would do it, and eventually his daughter too. Rami took photos of Smadar in her grandfather's army fatigues and her brother's red beret on her head, and they laughed as she marched, Keystone style, around the room. And he would describe it years later as his life in a bubble, his years in an open-neck shirt, his role in a talking head song. 87. The sound of the rollers on the cold metal tray, the slide of the plastic shoe covers on the shiny tile floor, the soft hiss of the refrigerator door sealing behind them, and the morgue then, silent as Rami walked through. 88. And you may ask yourself, what is that beautiful house? And you may ask yourself, where does that highway go to? And you may ask yourself, am I right? Am I wrong? And you may say to yourself, my God, what have I done? 102. They were so close that after a while, Rami felt they could finish each other's stories. My name is Bassam Aramin. My name is Rami Elhanan. I am the father of Abir. I am the father of Smadar. I am a 7th generation Jerusalemite. I was born in a cave near Al-Khalil, Hebron. Word for word, pause for pause, breath for breath.